It's been about a year since we've had a TUG meeting, in fact, almost exactly a year. And so since that time, we have released a whole bunch of stuff in the 7.4 realm. So what's new in your current version? So if you're on 7.4, 7.4, are enjoying, hopefully, the Smart Search overhaul. That was the major feature that was released. Along with one of the more recent releases we added a data site import and export. We realize that this isn't particularly exciting for the average user out there who doesn't use this every day. But if you are moving your site around, you're in production or launching a new redesign or a new version of it, or trying to relocate its hosting services, this is a fantastic performance productivity enhancement. And the reason that you should be excited about it is because in the future, in the present and in the future, this will save you money whenever you're getting services. Because in the past, when we had to move a site from here to there, or back up, or we just did some really major development, getting it from here to there was, so this data site import export moves the schema, moves all the templates, it moves all the lookups along with the lookup attributes and a whole pile of configuration data that comes along with the data site import export type stuff. We have now, and this is available with Titan Total Care. So if you needed that feature, or any of the other stuff we're talking about, and you have Total Care, that is something that you can request and we'll put that in for you. Total Care gets you one free upgrade per year. So typically for most of our clients, it's from 7.4 to 7.5. That's where you're going to get the major new features. But anywhere along the line, if you look at these enhancements over here on the right-hand side of the screen, those are, in fact, this isn't even, I think we're all the way up to 7.14. This is from our public site. We're just a little behind. I'm getting these notes updated. But all of these things are the enhancements. In addition to that, in 7.4, when customers call and something isn't quite working exactly as they think it should, we take those support requests and issue fixes, adjustments to the system. So there's been 80 minor bug fixes since 7.4 was released. So between the 96 enhancements and the 80 bug fixes, we're glad that enhancements are outstripping bug fixes. That's always a good sign. But these are all of the things that are going on out there. And these are also available at Total Care. So if you are one of the people who encountered one of these, and to be honest, a lot of these fixes are internal. Our staff notices something. Right. They're trying to build something for the client, and they notice that something isn't quite perfect, and they will call one and the other members of the team to make those fixes, et cetera. So a lot of these aren't necessarily driven by customers, but some of them are customer support requests, either internal or external. And if you want to see both these lists, Titan CMS for customers, it's over on the right-hand side of the nav, and the version enhancements is right in our public website, so you can get to see this all the time. So I want to just take a brief tangent, John, if that's okay, and just talk about, right in the beginning, tangents already, about the where used feature, because this came up just 2 weeks ago, and we showed this to a customer because they're saying, how can I find where I've got 1,000 images in my content library, and where are they being used, and can I delete these and clean this up? What a mess I have. I said, well, we have a feature that does that. Really? I said, yes, we do. It's been there since version 7.
Back in the 6s.
6.8.
It came up too at office hours. We were, had some people interested, and if nobody's been to the office hours, we got to definitely plug that. It's been really helpful for people getting questions in and getting answers out to our audience here. But where used came up in that process also.
And that's, I think, what triggered me to put this in here. So we have the idea that if I want to find out where is bucket2.jpg being used, it is being 2 times in a block. And I'm not going to go into this slide because we don't have enough time. But if I were to click on this little hourglass over there, I could see actually which blocks it's in. And 3 times bucket 2 is in a property. It might be a teaser image. It might be a piece of metadata someplace. It's not appearing in any data or on pages that we are linking. And other looks in every other place where that image might have been used, and nothing's showing up over there. So you can sort these different columns. I can see the places where, and I don't have any on this particular view. Actually, there's none on this view that are not being used. I took a nice screenshot. But if we scroll down on this list a little bit more on the live side, you'd see all sorts of images, even in our own instance where this is from, that are not being used at all. You can reasonably, with probably 98% certainty, be assured that if you wanted to delete that, you could, and it wouldn't break anything on the site. So if you want to do this the long way, you can go over to the advanced search button, which is over here, and search for any one of these images one at a time and select the sites and select the different spots. And that would take you 7.3 years to go and find everything that's in there. Or you can use the where used feature, which is already built into Titan. It's already there. if you don't know how to use it, give a call to our support desk. We can get you plugged in over there.
Yeah, where used is really nice because it hits areas that advanced search doesn't hit. Search will hit properties, it'll hit content from blocks, but it won't find that one field in Titan admin where you had to fill in a logo image, right? So having the where used index and the process that we have for reindexing the content in your environment so we know where all these files are is super helpful and gives a lot of good insight, especially if you are motivated to clean things up, which I hope people will motivate and clean things up.
Once a year.
Yeah. Once a year.
Springtime, usually. Which brings us to the kind of the point of today's presentation, which is the content library. So this is the most used Titan feature. How do we know that? A whole bunch of different ways. But one of the number one indicators of a feature that's being used a lot and is very popular is the number of requests we get for enhancements. So when something's being used a lot, everybody's going to think of ways they could improve it. So we launched this a couple years ago in 7.2 or 7.1, where we put the content library in. And what you're seeing right now is the current view. And when you click on the Open Library button over there on the right, pops up the content library, and we have global, personal, and online templates. So if used, actually, I'm going to just get a quick show of hands of the people in the room. How many of you use the content library in your instances now? There we go. It's just like almost everybody. Almost everybody. Yeah. So again, affirming that this is one of our more popular features. So the number one request is, could you have a search? Number two request is, could you add some other way to organize these? And then everybody gives me an idea of how they'd like it organized. Not just global and personal, but could you do like templates and blocks, or large and small, or stripes and 3 stripes and 4 stripes?
Just give me the things that are a module.
Yeah,
like,
modules.
What's a module?
And so we want all these different ways of organizing it. So we said, all right, fine. All right. So we went to the drawing board, and in 7.5, our newest version, we introduced Content Library 2.0 with search, organize, rearrange, the ability to create favorites, the edit and delete that was already there before, but with a couple of small enhancements, being able to point that online library to a different source. This gets into developers, so I won't go too deep into that, but the ability to change where that online library is drawing from, and a right pane for previews. So let's take a look at that. So right now, if you go in, and we're going to go live in a second here. If you go into the content library, have the view. So actually, I'm going to back up just a second. I'm going to point out a couple of things. First of all, right now in here, the system blocks are on the left-hand side, and the content library, open library, is on the right. So if we look at our new version over here, we have moved the content library, open library, over to the left-hand side. So when you click on add content to a page, the first thing you're going to see in your eye scan, and this is a usability principle, is what's over here. The second thing you're going to see are your favorite blocks. So these are the ones that you have pinned in here. I think we're going to have both a global list and a personal list. So that's TBD at the moment. And then, as always, the system blocks, not far away from where they were before. They just have changed the priority order of what's going to appear next. When you click in then to add a block, so if you were to go in to click the Open Library button up on the top, this is what's going to pop up next. And right now we have this set for global and personal because that's the defaults that you already know. But you will be able to rename those to whatever you want. So if you want to make templates big, templates small, Jenna's templates, John's templates, you can name whatever folders you want. If you want, again, we'll show you a couple examples of how we might do it. In the middle over here, now we used to have a masonry. Right. Thank you. We used to have a masonry view where the actual preview was all different sizes. So if it was long, and so that kind of made, so we've standardized these to make them all one size. But if you click on it, you will see the actual size over here on the right-hand side, along with all that information we had before, feature description, block types, with actually a whole lot more real estate to be able to see it. And here's the little thumbnail that's being there. If you click this ribbon up on the front, it will add whatever block you have selected to your favorites, the edit as before, and the delete over on the side. And actually what you're seeing actually is this particular view on our demo environment had a whole bunch of blocks in there, and I searched. So I typed the word featured text, and it pulled these 2 blocks out of the I think about 40 that are in there at the moment. But we've seen clients with as many as 100 in there, which gets very messy very quick.
Yeah, I'd add in development environments, this is more kind of our encouragement to each other and for improvement. When we're building out sites for people, we spend a lot of time building out their content library, so they've got nice, easy chunks of content that they can use when constructing new pages. Well, for our own sake, we want to be able to organize these, and they're just enormous. We have tons and tons and tons of block copies. That's kind of a name we use internally for them, and through them and organize, especially when they had the long previews was such a pain, and the images were always slow to load, that type of thing. So, streamlining this interface, giving some new efficiencies, especially with the bookmarking, those are all the types of efficiencies that we're going for here.
Clicking this button up here will add a new folder to your library categories, so you can add as you desire. And we're toying actually with a drag and drop. So once you have, if you wanted to drag this featured text out of the global folder into the personal folder, you could do that. And so we'll be able to rearrange where you put stuff. If you click the edit button, this is kind of largely the same as before. We have the ability to, I think this owner concept will continue to persist, but it'll have a different meaning. It won't necessarily be the folder that it's in, but it will be, I want to make this block, but I want to make it personal. So when I'm logging into Titan, those blocks will show up for me in whatever folder I put them in versus globally with whatever folder I put them in. So you'd be able to maintain that dimension of personal or global. Also we maintain the same create a preview image, which I'm glad to see more and more people are creating previews. You see, otherwise you get that little blocks icon that we fill in default if you haven't made a preview. And I think the rest of it is the same here. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we get into the next block. Anything else I missed, John?
No, I think there will be some other aspects of this screen that will change as we move through the development cycle. But I think that hits most of it.
Okay, here's an example of how someone might make the folders. So we have blocks, templates, stripes are 3 different concepts that somebody might create. Again, you can do whatever you want. And this, given the vast variety of how people were suggesting to us to organize, because we were thinking of making these categories hard-coded, and we realized after we heard everybody coming up with different ideas, we said, forget it. Just let everybody do their own thing.
I remember talking about that. We have a great, categorize the types of content we create in the library, but not everybody thinks of it the same way. No. So it's like
our brilliance isn't everybody else's brilliance.
But it's like, hey, we've got this brilliant list of things. It's like, you should think of them in terms of modules or stripes or blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, nobody's going to think about it the same way. So why do it that way?
We did get a comment online. Hakima says she likes the content library. Thank you, Hakima. I want to actually use that to encourage everybody else to add comments or ask questions. So once again, I think I figured out how to use the chat section. Let's see if everybody else can do it too. Want to get those comments coming in. All right, so that was, we're going to go live. Let's actually go live right now, and we'll come back to this in a second. Let's on over to here and give you the mouse.
I think I got it. Sweet. All right. So here's we're looking at where I will say we're a ways out yet for completion on this. So if there's any, odd behaviors, I ask that you would bear with me. But in our development environment here, the main way that we're talking about is how we're interacting with the add content menu, right? So the content library, as Pat said, used to be the secondary thing. And I made the comment just a little bit ago. It's like for 20 years, people have been just fine. I want a plain old TOC block, please. I want a regular old freeform block, please. And that was the first thing we always gave people. In fact, years ago, it was the only thing you got, right? And it was in a big drop down, but we've come a long way. We've added new blocks, but the content library as a way of originating new material, new content is becoming super, super popular. So we got to, make some adjustments and make that process as easy as possible. So again, you're seeing whether we're calling them pinned or bookmarked, we haven't really nailed that down, but at the moment they're bookmarked here. They're things that are specifically chosen by you, so they're kept with your user account. So this design portfolio, this 2023 services block, these are things that the webmaster user or pick a user chose as something they're going to be working on a lot. So they pinned it so it would be easy to drop. And just to show, the idea is like, oh yeah, I need another design portfolio. I'm going to click it and it should have just reloaded, but was this? You got me in Firefox again here.
I got you in Firefox. Yep.
I'm going to try to quickly.
We're going to make a quick, please stand by while we make a couple of technical adjustments,
See if I can.
I want to say we got a comment in that is the library search a global search or folder specific? And the answer is it's a global search. So it will search across all of the spots inside the thing. So when you search for a piece of content inside the library, you're going to see no matter what folder it's in, it's going to search. It's going to work the same way that the search works in our major thing.
Right. I'm just gonna, because I haven't played a whole lot with this. I'm gonna in Firefox yet. I'm gonna make sure we're trying this in Chrome. Sorry.
Client.com. Second thing, we got another comment that says, I need to start using the content library more. Yes, we agree. It is the most popular feature with all of the stuff that's inside there.
So hopefully we can get a sense for this, because I spent a little time trying to make that work. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, and after all that, I breezed right through it. The idea is we want it to be fast. We want it to be efficient. I'll say, no, don't save the changes. We'll show it again. I'm on a page. I'm originating some content.
And now you want to drop that.
I want to
design
start
portfolio.
with this, or I want to start with the digital services block as my basis. Bada boom. Now you're in there. You've got your block. It's configured with all the same styles, same content that were stored off originally in the copy, just like it works today, but just that little inch easier by having it pinned. But you can still grab a regular old empty, build it from scratch block. We just think that that's starting to wane. It's going to be a little bit lower.
I think more and more people are using the content blocks right out of the box with stuff that's pre-configured, right?
Yep. And if this is just that, exactly what you want, except for one thing, you can click and edit right from here also. So we're giving avenues that don't require you to go into that dialogue that is the block library dialogue.
And if you scroll down on this page, you can see all the blocks that are in there. Add and delete these blocks.
Yep. So this is something a little bit different than the visual that Patrick had in the slides, but we want people to have the ability to tweak and adjust this copy, this content that's ready to get placed over and over again, and build it out. Oh, I need another freeform now. I need to switch this so that it's a two column type of view, and be able to add additional blocks to this example, to this copy, whatever you want to call it. So that is going to be a nice little streamlined feature. And if the work that you're doing is done, you don't need this one anymore, you can just simply click and remove it from the bookmark list, and this will adjust on the fly. But let's jump into the library dialog. First thing I noticed, because I think it's really helpful, it's a lot bigger. And it looks like the Content Explorer. Very similar experience in other areas of the system, trying to kind of bring it all back so there's some consistency in our UI. But just like Content Explorer, when you're browsing through file piles or looking to link a page or a data item or whatever, same interface, same experience. If you need to, I'm like, oh yeah, what was that design related block copy I was looking for? We can do a global search. It'll always be a global search. There's some nuances that I'll point out. Online templates, those are retrieved from someplace outside of your system. They're actually calling to TitanCMS.com right now to pull in some stuff. So we're not searching TitanCMS.com. We're not searching through the external libraries. And maybe I'll give a different way to indicate an external one, maybe a different color or something. But any of the folders or any of the block copies in your library are going to be searchable through this interface. And it's a full text search. So this term design could be showing in the title, but it could also be showing up in content that's a part of the copy. For example, and it's a little bit hard to see, but in this image, you can see website design is in this long template. And if we look in, I think we should be able to double click that guy. And scroll down, yep, there's the image, and here are all the blocks. Sure enough, here's website design. It's picking up that possible hit in a full text search. It could find or any of the other text content that's made up of the blocks in this example. So, all right, just cancel that. But yeah, you can search. Patrick alluded to the folder structure. Let's expand a few of these. Yep. So if full page templates were a concept, a common block copy that you were implementing and you wanted to share out with different authors and editors, great. Make it a folder.
Make it global.
And in there is where you would organize all of your specific page templates.
Okay.
But Right now, this is not super interactive, but I'm working through some of the nuances of being able to drag and drop and
Rearrange the
folders.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
It's just rearranged, in this moment. It hasn't been saved anything configuration-wise to the database.
We won't hold you to it.
All right, great. But yeah, the idea is that we'll want to be able to these little preview snippets around, put them in different folders and reorganize them.
Well, let's pop back on over to the PowerPoint here. And I think we're over. It's one of these. There we go. Okay. So content library, search, organize, rearrange, delete, edit, point at a different source URL, right pane. The next major enhancement we have in 7.5 is very exciting because we're kind of breaking into new grounds here and doing stuff that we have been reluctant to do in the past. It's called a section block, and it's a block containing blocks. And this is, frankly, to be honest and full transparent, it's inspired out of our WordPress practice. So we got jealous a little bit of some of the interesting things that the WordPress will be able to do with some of their template builders, where the end users were able to get in and adjust within blocks, the padding and the colors and the stuff. They can do a million things. And frankly, as we will also testify from WordPress taxes, make a complete mess out of your site, that you have the power to change anything. But we had the idea that there are certain types of content like we have over here, 7.4 blocks. And so we have, in this particular view, you're looking at the very common thing that you might find on your website, 4 across thing. This is from the Titan website. And so this is how you currently build that inside of Titan. And so you would have freeform, 4 freeforms. It's just plain text inside there. All the styling is being applied through the CSS style sheet. And then over on the far right, you're seeing the guide, wide, card number. And so you're having to know all of these kind of, frankly, a little bit esoteric. Once you know them, and it's really not hard. But in the beginning, it's a little intimidating. It's like, what do I have to remember? And you have to write it all down. So, and then these 4 blocks know that they should preview like this. They should present like this because you have applied those styles and because those styles are in proximity to each other. And we do a whole bunch of JavaScript magic behind the scenes to see that, arrange them, and it all just works, and it works very fast and effective. And again, once people get good at it, it's not hard at all. Another example might be on our homepage, we have an image and then text digital experts included. How do you build that currently? Well, you go into freeform and 2 freeforms stacked next to each other. And then you have to apply the stripe hero up above, animated, and fade up. So if you put those 3 things in there, then it all works. So these are all client-specific behaviors. So that's, to use a programming word, it's a bit of an abstraction as to how do you get this stuff to display. So what we decided to do was to build a new block, which you're seeing right here. The working interface for this is a section block. And inside of here, we have added things where this section is going to have a whole bunch of blocks down here. Now, this one's empty at the moment, but I would click that Add Content button, just like we did before, and that content library pops up. And inside of there, you're going to pick a block, pick a block, pick a block, and they're all going to be contained inside of this section. That section can have a width. And when we go live, you'll see some of the different attributes over there. The padding on the top, the bottom, how much padding do you want? And we'll show you briefly for the webmasters in the crowd how you configure all of that. And what background color it has, a background image, the path, what overlay color, opacity, how much transparent you want all these backgrounds to be. So lots of things that if you've come out of a page builder environment, you might have had access to these. But in addition to that, up on the very top over here, we have the CSS classes. So if you know the names of that stuff, you can embed them and override anything that might have been pre-configured for you. So we're going to put blocks inside of this container here and then allow those 4 blocks like we had on that first example I showed you to have padding on the top, the bottom. So now later on, you add a new section to the site, which happens all the time. You add a new stripe onto the page. And all of a sudden, it doesn't look good because it's too much space or too little space, and you need something in between. Well, you no longer have to call Northwoods to come in and fix it. You have to call somebody who's going to go into the admin interface, which I'm going to show you here in a second. I'm not going to spend too much time over here. So if you are not a webmaster, not a developer, you can tune out for the next 3 minutes, okay? So just take a nap, take a break. So I don't want anybody get overwhelmed over here. But for 3 minutes, we're just going to talk about what we're doing in here and what you're going to be able to do as a webmaster.
Yeah, it is really deep in the weeds, but so often it's easier as an author editor to interact with labels that make sense. I would like the dark background, please. Oh, what color is that? Some of us will think in terms of hex for a specific color, but most everybody else is content, saying, yeah, the medium dark one is good. The one that's my primary brand color would be the one I want. And that changes, right? Nice thing about those labels is they can be much deeper. For this site, primary brand is blue, but in this site it's orange, or whatever. But this screen is intended to give admins, developers a way to define the label that's easy to understand, remove the bottom padding, and then what technically is behind the scenes as far as CSS classes that we apply to the scaffolding HTML that's generated by the blocks and the section block and all this other stuff. Layering things, if you're familiar with CSS, if you wanted to say, boy, I need the one with no top padding, but has this margin and this maybe a little scaling, and maybe this happens. And there's a series of classes that when combined cascade correctly so that everything looks just right. Well, you can list all those CSS classes and then tie them to one label, and then use that label in the workstation in the block editor to get the styling that you want. So I don't know if that was 3 minutes, but yeah, that was deep in the weeds and never glazed over. So
we're good. So the ability right in here in summary, John, is that you're going to be able to define English language attributes, labels to the stuff that you want for the styles. And inside of here, if you know the CSS classes, you're going to be able to names. And then later on, you can switch those all around. So there's a whole lot additional flexibility that you're going to have for building.
And I'll say I'll point out for those that do theme type development, it is all going to be connected to a specific theme. So it's not necessarily global for all your site, but specific to the theme you're working on. So then when you're working on your intranet, which may have a different theme than your public site, the labels will change if you add a section block to that intranet site, and it'll be all configuration options that are based on the theme for that site.
Any questions on that? We got a couple of things. Will the styles be responsive?
That's up to the developer of those styles, right? It is a very nuanced system. It's not intended to take all those CSS properties, but instead, tell me the name of the class that you defined in your CSS file that contains all the properties that you took the time to make sure were responsive for the right min width and the right media form, presentation. That's still all on the developer to accomplish, but to the extent that you can create a nice label that may say responsive stripe background with an image, right? The labels can be a lot of different things, which is great for the people that think differently and need different labels to convey the thought, but then the CSS behind it, that can be.
So it's still the responsibility of the developer to develop responsive CSS.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's inside there. Yeah, could section block be used to create a sidebar, make a sidebar type layout?
Potentially. I think it could very easily be done to do that. The section block is going to be premised on the section tag in HTML. So it'll create a section tag, and the blocks inside will render inside that section tag. All the styling will be applied to that section element. So yeah, if you lay out your page layout so that it's got a big area and the section bar is styled a certain way, then absolutely it could be a sidebar. And then with a flip of a few properties in CSS, maybe it's a right-hand side versus left-hand side sidebar, or maybe it becomes a stripe under a responsive narrow layout. Who knows? All those things are, sky's the limit as far as implementation goes. Again, it's a tough, I'll say it's a tough abstraction to recognize the scope of what it's for. It's really, really broad on purpose. The idea is we wanted to just give you a container that you can put blocks in and then have that container styled unique ways.
Can I put a section block inside a section block?
Yeah. Yes. Right. It's like, you absolutely you can. And in that section block could be another section block. Might you get into a situation where it's not great? Yeah. You might want to do that.
We're not constraining you. No seatbelts.
No seatbelts.
Right. But wear your helmets. Probably a good idea.
That would be very wise.
All right. Okay. So that's the two major features. When it is going to be available, John?
Well, I like that you put that quote in there. I think, we should have 7.5 and 25. That should be right. We're pretty far along in the process. We haven't got in earnest to like full-fledged testing.
Right.
We've got a ways to go yet on the section block. The nice thing I'll say, just generally as Titan goes and the way we've been doing the product development, we've really gotten into this pattern of like generational, right? So 7.4 is going to have 7.4.15 soon, and you pointed out all the then minor enhancements and bug fixes. It's like, but it's been a generation of, oh yeah, this search thing, we can make that even better. Let's add this to it. Let's add this to it. And we stay within that kind of concept and just keep improving. 7.5 will be the same. If 7.5 goes out in Q1 and it has the content library stuff, and then maybe a little bit later has the section block fully finished, that I could see that being the case.
So it might be 7.5.1, 7.5.2.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. There was certainly going to be a 7.5.1 and a 7.5.2 and a 7.5.3, and if history is any lesson, we'll have a 7.5, 23 or 24, who knows? Because as we see room for improvement, we do that, and we make adjustments on the fly, not for just bug fixes, but for enhancements also. And so it really makes it a nice, I think, proposition for our clients that do total care.
Yep.
Because we're continually enhancing a generation of the product in ways that you're getting a lot of new stuff with those total care upgrades, not just bug fixes. You're getting enhancements and stuff too.
Yeah. So then the general rhythm of how total care works for those that have it, which is, I think, at least half of our clients now, is that we will call you when 7.6 is out there and say, hey, we've got 7.5, 7.6 available. Can we schedule an install? So we're going to be proactively pushing you to get the latest version. With the 7.4, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through 15 right now, if you call us and say, hey, there's a bug, whatever, and we fix it, you're going to get that for free. You can also, in the interim, whenever we put out messages or new notes, et cetera, about features, et cetera, we think that you need it, we'll push those out. If we spot some sort of critical thing, which is happening less and less, where we have a really serious problem, we will proactively contact you and push something out saying, hey, there's a thing, all your data is going to get deleted. It's not going to happen, but just hypothetically.
Yeah, more often than not, it's been the minors, right? All those little minor bug fixes. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we fixed it. It's not super serious. It can go out the next time they get a total care upgrade. That's kind of the way that those work. Yeah. And it's been wildly successful, I think.
Yep. So Total Care gets you access to all of the interim releases on request, on demand, or if we proactively think that that's in your best interest. And you're going to get a call when 7.5 is available. Hey, let's get you scheduled up so we can get 7.5 pushed in there. And then you're going to get all of the 7.4 upgrades along the same way. So it's a reasonably good rhythm. Mm-hmm. So hopefully Q1 and 2025, we'll have all of this available for y'all. We're going to go through some testing and all the normal stuff